on loan from Football Morning in America every Monday exclusively on NBCSports.com. Pete, what do you make of these quotes, anonymous quotes about Tom Brady and the Patriots?
Well, first of all, I think Paul Brown would like to have a word about the subhead of the title of that book. And I understand publishers wanting to sell a book, but, Parcells used to have a saying, let's not put a gold jacket on him yet. Well, Belichick's going to have a gold jacket, but let's calm down a little bit. And again, I think he is clearly in the discussion for the greatest coach of all time, but I don't know. Anyway, what do I think about those things? I think after year one, after Super Bowl one, if somebody had said, this is not, we could win with a lot of quarterbacks. Maybe after Super Bowl two, if you said that, maybe. But after Super Bowl three and after Super Bowl four and after the 16-0 season, whoever says that's an idiot, period. I mean, it's just a stupid thing to say. Do you watch the games? Do you watch Tom Brady play football? I just, when I read that, I just said I don't know who said it. I have no idea, but I just think it's foolish.
Well, the fact that Mike Reese says it's an assistant or maybe former assistant who said that at least adds a little credibility to somebody in the building who knows what's going on and watches these games.
Well, but here's the point. I doubt that Bill Belichick ever would say, even after he had 8 Cabernets one night, I doubt he would ever say that. He's not anybody who would do that. He's not a Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones guy. He's not made to say things like that. If an assistant said that, in no way am I doubting Ian's reporting on this. I think his reporting is impeccable. I've read parts of this book. I think it's really, really a great addition to the Belichick lore and all the Belichick knowledge. But I just think whoever said that is dreaming.
Most important game this weekend is between whom?
I would say Giants at Texans because one of those teams is probably going to have their season end this weekend. It's probably going to be the Giants. And it's going to be the thing about the Giants right now when you look at them, Dan. I mean, a few people were saying it. I said it at the time, and I'm not bringing this up to puff out my chest or anything like that. But when you have a quarterback who's 37, and you have a chance to take a quarterback who's got a good chance to be your long-term guy. Now, I think Dave Gettleman didn't take a quarterback in part because he loves Saquon and because he didn't love any of the quarterbacks thoroughly in this class, which is understandable. I think a lot of people had a similar opinion, if not exactly the same. But it sure looks like Eli is especially with a bad offensive line, it's going to be hard for him to make anything of this year. And on Houston's side, I think these are two teams with bad offensive lines, and it's crippling them both. And I think this is going to be a grinded out 19-16 win for somebody that's going to be an ugly win, but the loser is going to be 0-3, and it's going to be really hard for him to come back.
What do you expect tonight with the Browns and the Jets?
I don't know. I think it's a really, really compelling game. I think it's a lot of fun because both teams think that they're pretty good. And I think the one thing about the Browns right now, Dan, they've got so many interesting weapons on defense that if Tyrod Taylor can just make a few plays every game, they ought to win 4 games. I mean, I could see them winning this game. I could see them going out to Oakland and winning. I mean, they're a real force on defense. Ask the Saints. So all they have to do is to be remotely competent on offense and get a kicker who doesn't miss every kick, and they've got a chance to win a few games.
Talking to Peter King, NBC Sports, joining us. Any concerns about the Steelers aside from Le'Veon Bell?
No, I think a lot of these things are happening because their defense is playing so poorly. And, I mean, think about this, Dan. I mean, this is what I sort of think about when I think of teams that, look like they're going over the cliff, and there's all sorts of discord. And the one thing I keep thinking about is I want you to look at their average points per game allowed since Ryan Shazier went out after the game last year in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And they played one really good defensive game out of those, I think 7 now. And the rest of them have been either like in the 30s or the 40s, and they're just really struggling to be competent on defense. And as long as that happens, it's pretty hard, even when you're Big Ben, to go into almost every game knowing that if I don't score in the 30s, we're not winning this game. And I think that's where the Steelers are right now.
What do you think the Packers' game plan is moving forward with Aaron Rodgers?
I think they should be absolutely, totally thrilled that the NFL has made a mockery of the roughing the passer rule, because they have to feel like we've got a 12th player on offense now, and it's the referee standing behind Aaron Rodgers. Anybody who hits him hard he's gonna get a flag. Now, I'm not one of those who think that this is over as far as what I consider to be the real bastardization of this rule. I think sometimes NFL officials, the NFL as a whole, the officiating department, want everybody to think that they're going to call plays a certain way. And so to get everybody to make sure that they are careful on the field about certain things. It used to be defenseless receiver. Then this summer it was helmet to helmet, and right now it's roughing the passer. And I don't think you're going to see that Clay Matthews call being called very much more. But I do think that pass rushers now know that a ridiculous calls are going to be made, so I've got to be careful, and that's what the NFL wants right now.
Why does Jon Gruden continue to bring up the topic or mention the topic, or when addressing the topic says it's hard to find a good pass rusher, and then everybody has their own, punchline to this? You traded away one of the great pass rushers.
He's like Donald Trump with the wall, or Donald Trump with the Russia investigation. He can't leave it alone. And he's not convincing anybody.
No.
He's not convincing. And who possibly can be convinced that Khalil Mack didn't want to be on the Raiders? That was his first one.
Yep.
And now how hard it is to find a pass rusher. It's almost insulting to the people who listen, really. I hear him say these things, and I like John, but everything is a justification for trading away a franchise pass rusher in his prime, the guy who over the last 2 years in the NFL has impacted the passing game via Pro Football Focus, their stats, more than any other rusher in the NFL. You trade him in his prime for 2 ones. I wouldn't have traded him for 4 ones.
Well, you also have Mack playing well in these first 2 games, so you juxtapose that to the Raiders.
It really wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter to me, Dan.
Okay.
I mean, we've seen him play well enough. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm just saying that even if he had been pedestrian the first 2 weeks, I still would have said it's a dumb trade. I'll say it's a dumb trade for the next 3 years. I think it's a dumb trade. I never understood it. I still can't to this day.
Yeah, unless the Raiders realize that they're not ready to compete, and that I felt like that John looked at this as I have a two-year grace period before we get to Vegas, and then once we get to Vegas, then you're going to see the team that I want to put out on the field. And
okay, maybe, but let's say that's the case.
Okay.
Let's say that's the case. All right, is Khalil Mack at 29 going to be in a free fall in his career? I mean, unless he suffers 2 horrible injuries between now and then, probably not. He's still going to be a huge impact player, and you traded him away with an awful history of drafting in the first round. And it's just mind-boggling. I'll never understand it. And as I wrote when this happened, if you extrapolate out the salary cap numbers over the next 7 years,
yeah,
his average cap number will be, if you do it based on what the recent history has been with the rise in the cap figures, that basically you're talking about paying him on average 10 or 11% of your cap every year. In my opinion, that's not exorbitant, but evidently they thought it would be.
Pete, good to talk to you. Enjoy the game tonight and the weekend's action as well.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Great hearing from you.
That's Peter King, NBCSports.com, NFL columnist.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.